Hey guys, this is Matt with Mix Coach here. I am here to review the Plug and Mix VIP bundle. I actually took last month's song that we mixed on Mix Coach and used it primarily just for, I said, okay, I'm just going to use the plug-in mix minus one or two other plugins that I may have threw on it, but 95% of this was done with just plugins from their bundle. And I gotta say, they sound great. Especially for the price. It's really a great bundle. So let's get to the fun part here. We're going to take a listen here to just the raw material. I bypassed everything, and then we'll listen to a little bit of it with everything engaged, and then we'll just kind of run through some of the different plugins I use from them and just check them out. Here we go. This is with nothing on.
A feeling, it's a feeling I'm concealing, I don't know why.
As you can hear, everything was really well recorded. It's jazz. It really doesn't need a lot anyways, especially if you just want to keep that just true sound to acoustic recording, but it needed some work in some areas. So now let's listen to a little bit of it with everything engaged.
A feeling, it's a feeling I'm concealing, I don't know why. It's just a mental, sentimental alibi.
As you can hear, sounds pretty good. Let's take a look at some of the stuff we used. We'll go over to the drums. Man, the drums were recorded really well, so they really didn't need much. Used his retro compressor on the kick just to tighten it up a little bit. Take a listen to it while it's playing. Let's find a part where he's cranking it a little bit more. Here it just made it a little tighter. On the snare, I ended up using the limiter to catch a few stray peaks because he got a little heavy-handed at times on the snare. Try to find an example. As you heard right there. I like it has a natural sound. You really can't hear it catching those peaks at all. Really, that was it for the drums. A little bit of EQ from some other stuff. Let's move on to the bass here. I created a smack track. I didn't use it for parallel compression. I actually used it for his emulation of the transient designer, the SPL transient designer. I kept the attack down, the sustain up, just to help. This is a neat little trick that I learned from Andrew Sheps, actually, that it allows you, if you have, just a really heavy-handed bass player, there's some real wide dynamic range. Basically, what this will do will allow you to create basically what would look like a solid compressed waveform of the actual audio, but it sounds a little more natural, especially when you blend it in, and it works really well to kind of just even the entire bass part out. I blended some of that in. Love this transient designer. It works very well. On the actual bass track itself, tapped into the retro EQ, which is emulated after an API 550. It sounds good. I really like it. Let's solo the bass. Just carved everything out real nice. Uh, then I used the retro compressor on it just a little bit, just to just smooth it out. I let mostly the transient designer do most of the work for that. Really like the sound of the compressor. Very forgiving, very natural sounding. And on the piano, again, I used a little bit of the API emulation. Just gave it a little bit of top end. Piano didn't need much. It was recorded well. And I also used a limiter on this just to catch some peaks, because it definitely got very heavy-handed in some spots. On the arch top, just a little bit of filtering. That was it. The guitar was recorded very well. But I've used this filter on other things. It's very forgiving, very natural feeling. You don't get a lot of, I don't think it has a real high slope on it, which I prefer, just to kind of help keep phase and comb filtering issues down in other situations. Now, probably one of my favorite plugins in this bundle is the Analogue R, which is your typical analog saturator. I know everybody makes one now, but this you have a choice between tape saturation or tube saturation, and you can adjust the lows and highs and how much gets saturated, and then you have the drive control, and you could actually mix this in parallel straight from the plugin, which I love. There's lots of saturation plugins out there, but I really like this one. Not everyone does it well, or I'm not even going to say maybe it sounds exactly like tape or a tube emulation, or an actual, emulating tubes, but it really does add some harmonic content that's just very pleasing. Let's take a listen to it on the brass part. Let's find a good spot here.
While we are young, let's fall in.
Bypass it. Listen to this first half unbypassed, or bypassed. You can hear it just really takes off some of that harsh top end that can just pierce your ears on brass sometimes. Just kind of smoothed it out, filled up the low some, and you could reach for that and didn't have to grab an EQ or anything. You didn't have to get real, it's not real obtrusive to the pure tone of the way any type of acoustic instrument should sound. I really, really like that plugin a lot. On the vocal chain, I just used his retro filter, did some high pass filtering, and gave it just a little bit of a top shelf bump. Again, sounds very good, I think.
While we are young, let's fall in love.
You can hear it doesn't get real brittle.
While we are young, let's fall in love.
You can just get a little bit of that air. That's nice. I like it. After that, I used a couple of his compressors in series just to lighten the load. This is an optical emulation. Again, sounds good. Let me find a part where he's singing more. We'll actually bypass the whole chain there.
We might have been meant for each other, to be or not to be. Let our hearts discover. Let's fall in love. Why shouldn't we fall in love? Now is the time for it.
I didn't, again, I use the compressors in series on this just because again, even though it's the vocal, you can typically process a vocal more in jazz. I still just like as natural sounding as I can for acoustic music, and using those in series worked really well. One retro, I'm not sure what this is emulating. To me, it has a VCA kind of sound. I'm not sure though. And then just the combination of the two, it was just I like it. Um, let's see here. On the reverb chain here, I did a hybrid mix of a plate and hall using his EMT 240 emulation, and then just a I think this was modeled after a certain Eventide model on the digital reverb. And the combination of the two I really like, but I'm really loving this EMT 240 emulation. It just sounds great, especially for the price. I mean, you can't beat the price of the bundle. I think the bundle's down to either $199 or $299. And if you don't want the whole bundle, you can buy each one for like $49. And for $49, it just sounds great. Let's take a listen to the whole mix with them and without them.
We might have been meant for each other, to be or not to be. Let our hearts discover. Let's fall in love. Why shouldn't we fall in love? Now is the time for it while we are young. Let's fall in love.
Very lush, nothing grainy. And in my experience with the EMT 240, it is comparable to many other emulations out there. On the master bus, I also ran an instance of the Analogue R and kept the mix all the way up and just gave it a little bit of drive, mixed the tube and tape, and it worked its magic.
We might have been meant for each other, to be or not to be. Let our hearts discover. Let's fall in love. Why shouldn't we fall in love? Now is the time for it while we are young. Let's fall in love.
Just real subtle. Use it in a subtle way. A little goes a long way, especially on any kind of saturation plugin. The other plugin I used was his Ultra Maximizer here, and just to give it some more volume. I don't limit by any means, and this is not any type of mastering on the master bus here. This was just to give it a little more volume, and if it did happen to catch a stray peak or two, I made sure it wasn't even a dB. It was just to push some more natural volume up out of the master fader. So I can't say too much about this because I haven't used it too much, especially to really work it hard. But again, you know, for the price, everything I've used from his bundle so far has been great. And this is really, I need to use this on another mix because he has tons of plugins. Let's, you know, if I just go down here, as you can see, there's tons of you know, different effects, amp emulators, other EQs that I haven't even dived into, vinylizer. There's lots of other great plugins that you I have used the Leslie emulator. It's great. The Dimension 3D stereolyzer kind of effect. Really some great stuff. And if you get the whole bundle for the price, you know, it's just fantastic. Can be used for many things. I can't say enough for, he's been on top of update support. Was one of the first companies to have 64-bit AAX, so you know, now I'm starting to use Pro Tools 11 more. That some of the companies are finally getting out there, but you know, I really like it when a company's on top of stuff, and you know, instead of having to wait forever on releases, he's on the ball. Very very personable in relations. I can't say enough for Nick. He's been very helpful in interacting with me. Just superb stuff. I highly recommend checking it out. I hope this has been helpful. Definitely go check them out on. I think the website's just pluginmix.com, formerly known as don'tcrack.com, which is still an online store. Uh, I think on like updates, if you buy the VIP bundle, every time a new plugin is released, you are automatically updated to it. There's no paid upgrade. Just really lots of good benefits, good stuff, quality sounding, quality company. You should definitely check them out. Until next time, guys. Happy mixing.